So you go from spending 80% of your time on crap that's like clicky emails and tasks that are low value to 80% of your time on things that you would wake up Monday morning and choose to do, even if you weren't being paid. Where do you think you're going to earn more money? You know, you're going to earn way more money in a creative environment, doing things that you enjoy.
Sitting down today with Jason Graystone. Jason's been a cool thing to talk with you over the years, talk about trading, talk about wealth. You just published your book recently, Always Free, which is a really good book. I had a chance to read it recently. Looking forward to discuss that more and how really wealth plays into trading. I know it's a big topic, so welcome back on the podcast and good to have you here today, of course.
Yeah, thanks for having me back, man. It's always a pleasure to be on the podcast. I think this is like 6th time or something now. I must be a record holder.
Yeah, we had you a few times, which we'll try to link it in the corner here. You guys can check it out. Jason's been there a few times, talk about trading, but more strictly about kind of more wealth and mindset. Tell me how you see wealth and trading fit together. Is there something where you can actually only do trading or only focus on wealth, or do you kind of do both at the same time?
I've always seen trading as another way to make income, right? So I've over the years, I've met people who have made lots of money in business. I've seen people make a lot of money in property. I've seen people make a lot of money in trading and or investing. And the thing that to understand that a lot of people miss is making money and building wealth are two totally separate studies. You know, they're totally separate things. So if you're a great trader, you know, I was over in New York in 2017 and I spent some time on a very well-respected prop firm in Midtown Manhattan. And I watched what the traders do. You know, they come off the trade floor and they'd go out into New York and they'd blow all their money, right? And they'd blow all their money on the clubs and the you know, the champagne with a firework in it and all the rest of it, right? And then the next day they had to make money again. So trading to me is a money making acceleration tool, but it's not necessarily, it doesn't mean that you're going to be financially free. It doesn't mean that you're going to be wealthy unless you can manage it properly. So two totally separate things, and you can be good at trading, but still I know lots of entrepreneurs that make a lot of money every month, but they've got no money. So to me, it's two totally separate things for sure.
A lot of people expect that if you trade well, you'll make a lot of money and then you'll be financially free from there. Tell me kind of what's missing there and what you have to implement to be financially free eventually from that.
So I'll dive a little bit deeper on the difference between making money and managing money. So you can earn lots of money trading, obviously. You know, we all know lots of traders who make lots of money. I've made lots and lots of money from trading. But the difference is if you're going to then go and spend that money and then it's gone, you know, then you need to then go and earn that money again. Whereas freedom or wealth comes from taking that income and managing it wisely so that you are building freedom, so that you're doing less in terms of exchanging your time for money, and you're using that money to grow income streams that are there regardless of you. So you don't have to trade, or you don't have to actually physically do something to cover your expenses. And I know that you know all about this because I know you do very well in both trading and wealth building, and you manage your finances well so that you're upgrading your seats on your airlines and all the rest of it, right? There's two separate things going on. You know, yes, making money is important, but how you manage money is what's going to give you freedom. You will, and one thing I would say trading does do in terms of freedom is it allows you to have mobility freedom. So you can trade from anywhere in the world, right? As long as you've got a good internet connection, it gives you that mobility freedom, but it doesn't necessarily give you time freedom if you have to show up and do it every day, or you have to do it every week or every month, right? So there is a passivity issue with the longevity of trading. So it still needs you. It still requires you. Whereas the differentiator between financial freedom is it doesn't need you. You know, the income will come in regardless of you. And that's the biggest difference.
One of the things I don't like about trading so much, the fact that you cannot really predict your income exactly. So I like to use my trading income to invest into assets, like you said. What are some of the assets that people can think about if they're traders? Like, should they go buy a property, or is there something else they can do to have a more consistent cash flow from trading?
I agree with you. When you make money in trading, it's very inconsistent. You don't know when you're going to have a profitable week. You don't know when you're going to have a profitable month, and you never know what's coming next. That's the struggle as a trader. That's the real struggle as a trader. So it's wise to even out that volatility in your wealth building or your equity curve or your income by having some underlying assets that are a bit more stable, right? So if you think of Warren Buffett, for instance, he uses something called a 90-10 principle, where he puts, he's got 90-10 split and he puts it into stocks and bonds. And the reason he does that is because he benefits from the kind of income growth element, but the bonds just lower the volatility, iron out any major fluctuations in that growth. And yes, you won't return as much. The return drops a little bit, but you can stomach the growth without these big, like 10% drawdowns and things like that, right? Which you can't stomach. So it's wise to have some underlying assets that are more passive, lower return, lower risk, but more stable in terms of like fixed income growth. So things like, this isn't financial advice because I'm not a financial advisor, but it would pay to learn about things like index funds and, ETFs and maybe even how to pick some large cap stocks on a large stock market, and understanding that kind of thing, or property, as you mentioned. Having things like that allow you to just stabilize the income growth volatility. Because I always say, if you grow your money faster than your mindset can keep up with, or you have fluctuations that your mindset can't keep up with, your mind will be the thing that gets rid of the money. You'll squander the money. It's a bit like when people win the lottery, right? They win the lottery, their mind hasn't kept up with that growth, so then they just blow it all. They're trying to get rid of it as quickly as possible. And you'll do the same if you have a big trading win.
Is there any guideline to how much profit you should reinvest or save to reinvest in other assets? Or do you just look at what you have every month and you just kind of put it all up with parts of it? Or how do you structure that?
Yeah. So it depends where you're at in your journey. It's going to be different for everyone, because for me, it depends on your skill level in trading. So there was a point in time where 40% of my net worth was in my trading account, right? Because I was trading all the time. All of my energy and attention was on trading. And then in COVID, actually, when it went into COVID, I had a big trading day, and then I decided to allocate a lot of that capital to lower risk, lower return, but more sustainable growth income assets like index funds and things like that. Because as I get older and as my life changes and I build more wealth and I'm more comfortable, I want to do less. So I still want to trade, because I still want to appreciate that acceleration in growth of my total portfolio. But I want to put most of my money into things that don't require me most. So I want to do less. Whereas if you're just new to this, if you'd said this to me 15 years ago, I was heavily into trading and trading. I would put most of my energy and attention into that. But I would say the most important thing is it has to be your skill. Like, there's no good putting most of your money and giving it to another trader and saying, can you trade my money? Because if you don't understand it, that will mess with your head. That will mess with you, and you'll end up ruining it for them. You'll be just like, oh, what's going on? It's up. How's my money doing? How are you doing with my money? And you start playing around like that, and you'll jeopardize the whole thing. So I guess, one, it depends where you're at and where you're at in terms of your comfort level in your wealth building. And then 2, how much you know about it, and allocating a direct proportion of your money based on how much you know about it and how skilled you are in it. And then the goal for me is to do less and less. So I want to put most of my money into things that are most passive, until you get to the point where you've got enough money in the total kitty that you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do any trading or anything if you don't want to.
If you are enjoying this interview so far, then I think you'll like this one over here. I've been working on this book for a long time called Prop Trading Secrets. It's finally out. You can get it in your favorite bookstore or on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, of course. And this book is really about interviewing traders who are successful in either trading for prop firms or managing their own private fund. We talk about their background, what makes them successful, the things they went through, struggles they had to go through to become good traders now, and a lot of the good wisdom that you might not necessarily hear about, but it's all into a condensed version over here. You can read through these stories, get inspired, of course, learn a lot about what they do, their strategy as well. And we summarize everything at the end where we have a whole chapter of summaries of what these traders have in common. So if you want to check it out, 14 traders in this book that myself and Kathy Lean interviewed. There's a lot of good wisdom in this. If you like these interviews on YouTube, I'm sure you like this one for sure. Go grab it. Like I said, it's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, it's on Audible and audio version. All the other audiobook platforms will have it too, or your favorite bookstore. So check it out. If you did read it, let me know in the comment section below which one is your favorite chapter, and we'll get back to the interview. What's the main difference between being wealthy and then being free? Is there like a big difference, or is it just how you spend, like what your expenses are, or is there something more than that?
I think freedom, you call it wealth. Wealth actually comes from an old English word, welle, which means well-being. So well-being to me means being free and choice, being yourself. And freedom comes down to not just finances, but mental freedom, mobility freedom, and financial freedom. And mental freedom is knowing who you are and doing the things that you want to do. Because if you're not mentally free, it doesn't matter how much money you earn, you're always going to be spending it to show off to other people, keep up with other people, please and appease mum and dad, prove an ex wrong, prove an old boss wrong, prove a partner wrong, right? So you need to be happy in your own skin, and you need to understand what your goals are, what your values are, and what you want out of life. Once you do that and you've got mental freedom and you don't let anyone's opinions and idealisms get to you and social pressures, then you can build a life in mobility freedom where you can build a life like what you're doing. You're building an income, doing what you want, wherever you want, right? And no one is like putting you off track. No one is pulling you here and there. You're just doing your thing. You're enjoying your life. Your mobility freedom is phenomenal. You can go anywhere you want. You're doing the things that you love. It doesn't feel like work. That's total mobility freedom. And if you just have those two things, you feel very, very free. The financial element is just having enough money stashed into a portfolio that is managed in a way where it's passive and it can buy you time into the future if you have to stop doing the things that you love. So you might become ill, or you might have an injury, or you might need to take care of a loved one, in which case you need to divert your attention and take your attention off of your own vocation or your own income, and you need to stop, right? And the financial freedom element is having enough money to stop, and it's measured by how much time you can buy into the future based on the returns that you get from your pot of money. And that's, if you have all of those three things, that's what I call always free. That's what the whole book's about, having those three freedoms. And that's it.
One of the things you talk about, which is surprising too, is delegation. Is delegation only for like the business owners or people who have a team, or can anyone use that to their own advantage?
Yeah, so delegation fits into the mobility freedom piece, because the mobility freedom piece, a lot of people go, oh, okay, well, I'll create a business and it'll be a business that I love. And then what they end up doing is they become a slave to the business. They're like on a hamster wheel, and they're doing all the stuff that they hate, and they're answering emails and doing all this stuff, right? And then because they haven't delegated, they've just created a big headache and they don't feel free at all, right? So there's a trap there. So mobility freedom comes from earning your money in a way where it doesn't feel like work, or the majority of the time spent on that thing doesn't feel like work, and you feel like you're paid to do stuff that doesn't feel like work. It also depends on how leveraged that income stream is. So can you serve 1,000 people the same way you can serve one person, and there's no difference on the time it takes you. So like consulting or coaching services, they're a bit of a nightmare for freedom because you're strapped to Zoom, or you can coach one-on-one for 8 hours a day or 9 hours a day, right? And then there's a limit to how much time there is in the day. And then you have to eat and shower and spend time with your family. So, you're limited there. So I always say that if you can't delegate the uninspiring tasks in your life, you'll never be free. Because even if you won the lottery, if you don't know how to go and book a holiday or book the time off or do nice things, and you got to get someone else to do that, then you're not free. So you have to go and delegate these things. And here's the trap. Here's the key. A lot of people think, well, when I get the money, then I'll delegate and become free. It doesn't work like that. Becoming free is a byproduct of mastering delegation first. Then you earn more money because you'll focus more on things that you're good at and that you love and that you care about. And then you earn way more money as a result of focusing on those things. So you go from spending 80% of your time on crap that's like clicky emails and tasks that are low value to 80% of your time on things that you would wake up Monday morning and choose to do, even if you weren't being paid. Where do you think you're going to earn more money? You're going to earn way more money in a creative environment, doing things that you enjoy. So the quicker you can get rid of those things, the more freedom you create, and then the more money you create.
How do you find these activities that pay you well and that you love also? I feel like for some people, trading can be very nice and they love trading, but for some people, trading is going to be it's going to be a lot of work, and they're going to have to show up at the chart and do this for 8 hours a day and then do that and then journal after. And it's like draining them in some ways. How do you find that kind of sweet spot for you?
So if you want to, we only get money from other humans, right? So that whether you're trading or starting a business, someone else is putting that money into your pocket. There's another human being that is putting money into your pocket, right? There's only two ways to get it from another human. You either trade and beat them at a skill or boxing or golf or whatever, right? Competitive environment, or you serve them and you give them a service and you help them and improve their life and they pay you, right? So the key, obviously, is the easier way is to serve them, because trading is very difficult to learn. And, I'm not saying you can't do it, but it's a difficult path. I recommend you do both. But with the service, where people fall into the trap of creating a job for themselves, they undercharge, they have no profit, they have no time. You want to focus on reaching more people, improving their life even more. The degree that which you change their life, you can charge more for that. The reach, so the amount of people you can serve, and the frequency that you can serve them, and the income that they generate. If you go for higher income earners, you can charge more relative to their income and you get paid more. Higher earners pay you easily, or much more easier than someone who isn't a high earner. The people who are stingy, they're the biggest headache in the world. They want it for nothing, next to nothing, and they'll pay the cheapest price, and then they just want, you spend 80% of your time with those and they don't earn you any money. Whereas the person that has the high income, they'll just pay you without any question and say, right, yep, great, I love it, amazing, because they get it. They just want the result. So the most important thing in a business is to make sure you've got a skill that you would be happy to teach and something about. You can help someone else achieve that result, and then you enjoy teaching it, and then package it up in a way that isn't like exhaustive of your time, and then charge well for it, charge to a good demographic that's going to pay you for it. And then the beauty of the world we live in today is there's so many platforms where you can monetize anything that you love. There's people on YouTube talking about makeup or trampolines or guitars or whatever it might be. Whatever it is that you enjoy, you can make money from by serving other people. And what I will say is, as we've gone into the world of AI and there's information everywhere, you need to build something that actually gets a result for someone, an outcome for someone. You need to be really outcome focused and make sure that you get the result for them. No more of this like fluffing up courses and lots of general information. You can get all that on ChatGPT, and ChatGPT knows way more than you, knows way more than me. So people really want to trust you. So the purpose of social media and YouTube and these podcasts is to get people to spend as long a time with you as possible, so they build so much trust for you that they know that you can help them implement the information that you're teaching. That's really the most important thing.
What's the path looking like for someone who's got a full-time job? They might have been trading for a while, might have been profitable, maybe not profitable so much, and they want to get to a point where they have freedom. They don't have to work for someone else. They want to be free, like in your book. What's the path for them? What do they have to think about or do first?
Yeah, so freedom, if you're trading and you want freedom, it comes down to mobility and passivity. So if you're day trading, you're not passive at all. You're on your laptop all the time trading. It might be for 3 hours, 4 hours a day. Day trading, that's not passive. You might be able to do it from anywhere in the world, but you probably can't actually, because there's a lot of places that you visit where you need to be more of a swing trader, because the broadband will not allow you to do lower time frame trading, because the broadband's terrible in some of these countries, man. And it's like, I can't be trading a 5-minute time frame if the broadband's cutting out, right? So you need to adapt to swing trading. So higher time frame stuff, make sure that you're swing trading and you're going higher time frame. Then that will open up how many places you can visit in the world, how mobile it is. It's more passive because you don't have to check the charts all the time. So immediately you've created mobile freedom and passive freedom. And then you just need to grow your account so that you can cover your lifestyle upgrades and your lifestyle wherever. If you haven't reached your goal lifestyle yet, you need to grow your account. So the key thing to do is to prove that you can be profitable, and then go and get funding or get someone to invest in you as a trader and take their money and accelerate your account that way. That's the other option. Or serve people and teach people how to trade whilst you're doing it, and be very open and transparent and show them what you're doing, and they'll pay you, to teach them. So there's lots of ways that you can make money to kind of accelerate your account once you're profitable.
What about the full-time job? When do you know when it's time to get out of that?
When you can consistently cover. So I always say you need a runway. So calculate your living expenses. Make sure that you've got 9 to 12 months living expenses saved. Okay. And that's a must for me personally. Some people just jump out of a job. If you're really unhappy, like, you want to go and live at your mum's or your parents, and you can just go and live on the couch there, just get rid of it. It's not worth the mental stress. Just do it now, right? But if you've got dependents and some responsibility, then you want 9 to 12 months living costs stashed in the bank. And you also want to have proved that you can bring in a consistent income with a weighted average over the last 6 months, say, of that living cost per month. And then once you've got that, you've got certainty that you can keep you can maintain that. So that's it, really. I mean, other than that, it's do the delegation thing, right? If you really hate your job, look at all the things that you hate about it, and then try and delegate those things, and then see if that helps.
What do you see as a difference in mindset for people who have money, who are wealthy and free, versus people who are trying to get there, don't really have the mindset yet? How do people that are wealthy think differently than other people?
The reason I wrote this book is because I started, when I became financially independent, I was sat at home every day, and I there was a long period of time where I was just sat at home doing trading, doing my investing, and I was pretty bored. I put on a lot of weight, became a good guitarist, and that was about it. But I started networking to get out the house with a lot of entrepreneurs, and I met people who were born into wealth. They had all the money in the world. They could do whatever they want, wherever they want, but they had drug addictions because they were so unhappy that they didn't know who they were. They didn't have any sense of purpose, any sense of meaning, and they were lost. They were lost. They didn't know who they were. They had no identity whatsoever. So that wasn't freedom. Money wasn't freedom. I also met people who were great at earning money and generated lots of cash every month, but then they had no money. So they had to go and do that every month, which meant they felt on this hamster wheel, right? So that wasn't freedom. And then I had people who were, really mentally free. They knew themselves in and out, very spiritual people, loved their job, but they didn't really pay a lot. There was $30,000 a year job. And they were annoyed because they didn't have the money to kind of have some of the experiential freedom that they wanted in their life, right? So one of those things won't give you freedom. And yes, there might be a wealthy person that has the mental capacity and the mental mindset to get them there. But a lot of the time they don't know when to stop, and then they start chasing. Like I was in Dubai a couple of weeks ago, and this guy told me that his next target is 50 million in business. And I was like, why 50 million? And he was like, oh, it's just the next number. It's just the next thing. And I was like, well, that's, you're going to have to sacrifice a lot of your time and your, wife's time, kids' time. And you've got probably about 3 years to get there. And it turns out that really he just wanted to hit 50 million to impress, an old boss or impress an ex-girlfriend or something, right? And it's like, wow, you're a slave to that person's thoughts who actually doesn't give a crap. And once you hit that, you probably won't care anyway because you're not chasing it for you. You're chasing it for what you think they want. And then it's just a waste of life. So I think mental freedom comes down to being content and knowing what you want in life. And then understanding where that milestone is so that when you get there, you can go, I appreciate this. This is it. Like me, I have no goals. I have 0 goals, no aspirations. If I live every day like today and die, I'll be very, very happy. Right? So I think that's a beautiful place to be. And I think not enough people are in that because they're looking up to Instagram and trying to be like other people. And it's not important to them really.
What's the balance between being content and still having stuff to work on, like stuff that inspires you every day? Because you could like be wealthy and sit at home and do nothing and like watch TV all day. Like what's the balance there between being okay with where you are at, but also trying to kind of stay motivated, stay happy?
I think that is born out of you understanding who you are and then what you want to do. So like me, for instance, although I don't have goals, I feel like I'm on a mission, and I'm on a mission to talk about this stuff, what I'm talking about here, and share that mission. That my mission is to share that information with people, which will in turn unlock different milestones, different bucket lists. Like I've just been invited to, Necker Island with Richard Branson for a week, and I'm going to go to his home and spend a week with Richard Branson. And that has just come as a result of me pushing this message and this mission and, writing a book and launching the book. And now he can see that I'm up to something. I've now been invited to spend time with him, but it wasn't a goal that I was like, I've got to push for this goal. I've got to hit this goal. I want to push till I get there and nothing's going to stop me getting there. It wasn't like that. It was just a natural, effortless milestone that came about as a result of me being passionate about pushing my own message and my own agenda. And I think as soon as you figure out what that is in you, the passion will take over and then your mission will be ignited. And then you don't have to set goals. It's about pushing the message. People jump on board with your message. People want to learn with you, grow with you. And then, it unlocks unbelievable opportunities, which it's done for me time and time again.
How would you apply this to trading? I feel like a lot of people in trading have like this desire or like this mindset of like they want to get to the results faster, they want to get profitable faster, they need to get results now. How do you apply the same mindset to trading?
I get that. I do understand that because trading is a long game. It's funny because everyone who I know who does well at trading, they just accept that it takes a long time, and then they accept that it's a never-ending journey, and they accept that they've got to keep on top of it and keep working at it and keep refining it and optimizing the numbers and treating it like a business. And those are the people that end up doing really well for a long period of time. The people that want it quick normally want it quick because either one, they're only going into trading in the first place because they've seen someone else do it and they think that it's a quick win, but it isn't. And they're not really interested in it. So now it's like, it's hard, it's a slog because it's like, I have to get up every day and do something I'm not really interested in. Right. Or they think it should be quicker than it is because they've looked on Instagram and seen some guru flashing a flipping, Lamborghini and saying that you can double your account every week, which actually isn't true. You can't do that. I've never met a successful trader that's doubled their account in a week. And for the record, I've doubled my account twice in my whole trading career. And the quickest I've done it in was 18 months. So, if someone comes to me and says, well, how quickly can I make $1,000 into $100,000? Well, good luck it'll probably take you 2 years to turn $1,000 into $2,000. That's probably more realistic.
Totally agree with that. Definitely. We could talk about this for hours for sure. I mean, it's a different perspective on trading too and on wealth, which is kind of interesting. I think people should definitely get your book. I really enjoy reading that book. So you guys can check it out. We'll put the link below. Always free. It's definitely a good one. I'll probably go back on a few chapters to read them again. But Jason, tell me what can they get your book and learn more from you?
Yeah, thank you. Well, I think if this has resonated with you and you've enjoyed this chat, I would recommend going to alwaysfree.com and you can grab a book and you can connect with me on there.
Awesome. Appreciate it. You definitely do some good work out there. So it's definitely cool to hear a different perspective on things and kind of see how trading plays a bigger role into wealth and mindset in general too. So I appreciate this discussion and hopefully we can catch up soon and talk trading again.
Amazing. Thank you, Etienne.